some of your earliest memories are working alongside your grandfather, Francis Carroll Wilson Sr., during his nearly 50 years at John Bell Farm. What was that experience like for you?
It was fun actually. I mean, as a kid, I kind of stowed away in my grandfather's car because initially, if you asked, he would probably say no, thinking that we didn't know what we were doing or we would get in the way. And after, I kind of stowed away the first time and working on the farm, um, he kind of saw that I had, good work ethic. So after me asking, he would let me come. Um, Initially, it was, well, just sweet or whatever. Or I would just go out and kind of ride on the Bell's grandkids go-kart. And, that was kind of exciting to me at first. And I wanted to do that. But then after I started working, it was more or less I was trying to get there to be able to ride. Years and years went by and he wouldn't let me ride. But after, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years of me going out to the farm, there was one of his coworkers that kind of put me on a horse in the stall. And it just kind of sparked my interest. I mean, even to a higher standard. So, it was, to me, it was always fun. I've always been an avid learner. So it's been it was a great experience, should I say.
And your grandfather also started working as a ringman for Keeneland Sales in the late 60s, and he showed the first yearling ever to sell for more than $1 million in 1976. Did he share stories about some of his favorite horses that he showed over the years with you all?
Not really. That particular horse that was sold was actually in a book. I think it may have been a Lexington book, and I think I may have been in, I'm going to say second or third grade, and just happened to go in the library with class, and I just pulled a Lexington book, and when I opened it up, there's my grandfather, and the caption was that the first $1 million horse that had ever been sold. Of course, my grandfather holding it. He's held some pretty famous other horses, such as, off the top of my head, I could think of Winning Colors. One of the very first great horses won a huge race, and I believe she was a filly. So he didn't talk about it a lot unless you really brought it up. My grandfather, again, where he worked at Keeneland and John Bell simultaneously, a lot of times, and he would come home and he would go to sleep. So it would, we knew his routine would be he would come in, he would eat his cottage cheese and peaches over lettuce, read the newspaper, only the sports section, and that would last the whole day. And then, he would listen to either the Reds on a radio while watching the Bengals on television. And it was kind of one of those things where on his off time, that's where he spent. Sports was his, his thing that he loved to do. But he really didn't speak a lot about, horses and, things like that. And maybe because I was a lot younger, so those experiences only heard through other family members.
When your grandfather's contributions to the industry are commemorated with a plaque that reads Frankie's Corner in the area where he awaited horses before they enter the ring at Keeneland Sales, how did that inspire the work that you do now with Frankie's Corner, Little Thoroughbred Crusade?
Like I say, the biggest thing, I started this program because of, things that were going on in the community. So, while I was trying to think of names for this organization, the first thing that popped in my head was that plaque. So the plaque, it symbolizes a lot. It symbolizes the commitment that he gave to Keeneland. I want to say that he's probably the longest ringman that's ever worked here at Keeneland. So, trying to put those two things together as far as his legacy here. And I think it was more or less to try to garner support from Keeneland as doing this for, all the hard work that he had done over the years here. And, that plaque, a lot of people don't realize what that plaque symbolizes because a lot of people don't get to see it. The story has never really been told what that plaque meant. But, when I started the organization, I used that, and the long name, Frankie's Corner, Little Thoroughbred Crusade, was, of course, the Frankie's Corner was his part with Keeneland. Little Thoroughbred was because he was one of 18 siblings, and one particular year, all the siblings had to come up with a name for their actual family. Naturally, we were Frank's Thoroughbreds, and so I put Little and Crusade in there because I was, educating the younger people, and the crusade for a movement towards, greater things is what crusade means. So it honestly had probably the hugest part of it, because when I started the organization, it was right after his death. And I actually looked at this picture, which one of my uncles drew, and it was him in the sales ring. So it was just automatic. And so, I used that picture as our logo for the organization, him being in the sales ring, as just, horse handling skills is what the thought process was behind that. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing these stories with us this morning.
Not a problem at all. Thank you much.